welcome to the UFC, to BJJ ace and LFA strawweight champ. It is Jaqueline Amorim making her UFC debut coming up this weekend against Fortis MMA's Sampage, Sam Hughes. And there's a lot of different layers to this fight. You really want to talk about the nickname?
Do you know what this fight makes me think of, though? This fight, to me, is like that game Grounders when you're in elementary school. You know, you want to jump up on all the different equipment because someone's going to go, Grounders, then you hear, because there's some liar in the group who's like, I wasn't on the ground, because they jump on the slide, but we all know they were on the ground. My whole point is, though, this fight to me is like a game of Grounders intensified in an MMA cage, because you had kind of alluded to it in the intro. Our new UFC debutante over here is very dangerous off of her back and very dangerous with jiu-jitsu. And Sampage is someone who every single time we talk about her fights, people are probably going to roll their eyes. She has the track and field background. She has great cardio. So for her, I think it will be really interesting to see how long can she not make mistakes? How long can she stay on the slide without getting into the rocks and saying Grounders?
And when people are going to say, okay, differing backgrounds, that's where I was going with it. For Sam Hughes, down at Wofford, she was a track and field star, and she mixed it up.
More.
She switched around through colleges. She somehow found her way in the Pacific Northwest. A friend invited her to train MMA, and then all of a sudden, she's kicking things off. She's winning fights. She had an amateur fight for a title that she lost against Loopy Godinez, who's also on this card. But as she went up through, I mean, she's fighting for that LFA strawweight belt against Vanessa Demopoulos. She beat her inside of 3 rounds. But then the fourth round came a knocking, and Vanessa decided, I'm really good at inverted triangles. I'm going to win this fight. And she did. But for Sam Hughes, it makes it into the UFC. There's been more downs than there has been ups. Her last 3 fights, she is 2-1. Her last time out, she was the loser in that matchup, taking on Pereira Rodriguez. And it just so happened that Rodriguez, off the back foot, was able to land a lot of her boxing combinations. But when you couple the fact that Sam Hughes was great at track and field in college, Jaqueline Amorim, and I'm going to throw it up there for her accolades in jiu-jitsu. She's a BJJ black belt under Faustino Neto, and I got some of this information from BJJ Heroes. You might have heard of BJJ Heroes, the most notable
big
of
website.
The websites, but you go down through it, that's the same coach that helped develop Carlos Diego Ferreira and one of Matt's favorite Brazilian Canadians, Bibiano Fernandes.
Wow.
He was able to do lots of great work down there, but if you go down and look at it, she then moved with her then husband up to South Carolina, started training out of Team Checkmate. You can see it in the picture right there. That is the gym that she represents. And then you consider it, Matt, third place 2017 IBJJF Worlds. In 2016, she was the second place in No Gi Worlds. I mean, among other. Jaqueline Amorim was very, very, very accredited in not just regular gi jiu-jitsu, but no gi as well. Switched gears and then became a professional mixed martial artist. She's finished all 6 of her wins, all of them inside of the first round, 5 of them by submission, in 4 different types of submission wins,
And that's the impressive thing to see. Like, I know I really like Damian Maia. I talk about his jiu-jitsu a lot, but Maia's a guy who you really think of with the rear naked choke, right? That was what he was always trying to build to on the ground. But for Amorim, it is really nice to see her fish for different types of submissions. And again, that's going to be very important in this matchup. And it's a weird fight because Amorim is definitely more likely to get a finish at any point. Because for Sam Hughes, she'll weaponize her cardio, but does she really have tremendous punching power? Does she have volume like Max Holloway that's going to get a TKO? No, not necessarily. And I'm not saying she's a bad grappler by any means, but a lot of her grappling does come down to her pace, her tenacity. It's not necessarily the fact that she has like tier 1 jiu-jitsu types of skills, and that's why I do think this fight really is going to be important to see what kind of a pace Sam Hughes brings into it, because she really is going to have to bank rounds, because I think at any moment on the mat, what I like out of Amorim and what I watched out of her is she doesn't waste a lot of time just holding down that full guard, waiting for things to happen. She's squirmy off the back, and I think that will give Sam Hughes some troubles, because Hughes is someone who, and I don't say this to say it as a negative because it has been effective up until a certain point. She is in the UFC, but she will get into that full guard, just kind of hold down position. She'll prioritize position, a little bit of ground and pound over submission, and if she does get a little lackadaisical in some of those positions, leaves her arms in careless positions in that full guard, we could see Amorim start to pick up off of the mat.
There's a giant trouble with this one, though, and it's kind of a trap card. Sam Hughes, I mean, she's kind of one of those cardio queens.
Oh, yeah.
I'd say king, but she's cardio queen out of it because she can go a hard 3 rounds. She can continue to knock away at the competition. You saw her fight against Elise Reed from that top position. She did look good. Her wrestling was really good in that fight. For Jaqueline, we haven't seen her out of the first round. And even in some of these fights, let's go down through them. Her fight at LFA 101, you go back that far against Taisha Gandhi, she was a minus 2,000 favorite.
Big favorite.
She had no head movement, ate every single jab, and then in 10 seconds goes all the way across the cage with her arms out, gets the takedown, and earns the submission win by a rear naked choke. Her next time out at LFA 110, she's taking on the first of two Canadians in her career, 34-year-old tricky fighter name of Megan Owen. And in that fight, she throws one left hook and knocks her out. And it's done really quick. So that's just a lot of fun.
Would you agree with me, though? I do think our foundational skills, although they don't make up for an amateur background or anything like that, they are an amount of experience that I think will help her in the UFC.
She doesn't throw any volume when she strikes. She doesn't move her head.
But that's fine. We've seen people like Melissa Gatto make it to the UFC and have success based on a deadly jiu-jitsu game facing primary wrestlers to take her down.
She was able to switch it up.
But I get that. She was able to switch it up later on in her career after long layoffs and stuff. I just mean, there are fighters out there who can win their first handful of fights just based on that foundational skill set. I'm not saying she's going to make it to the top 15 from this, but I do think that BJJ is lethal enough to get wins.
Amorim getting the belt the first time she tried for it. It was supposed to be at LFA 118. The quote is, unable to meet the sanctioning requirements from the California State Athletic Commission has been canceled. So they had to move her versus Loveth Young to LFA 125. In that fight, Amorim's able to get the takedown really easily. But when she goes to pick Young up, what does Young do? Two hands in the cage. So referee John English, friend of the show, he takes a point, and ultimately Amorim's able to go out there, get it done, get the submission win. And then defending the belt against Nichols, 36-year-old Canadian, just taking on old Canadians. They do nothing for the majority of the first round, and then as it goes on, you have Amorim that's able to really kind of scrap things out, getting that win out there once more. So when you do go down through it, I know Hughes is 2-4 in the UFC. She fights behind boxing combinations. Her offensive takedowns are quite good. Her cardio is her superpower, and she is one of those tricky fighters. If all fights are 5 rounds like Charles Johnson, him and Sam Hughes
is probably the example I was going to use.
They would win every single fight. For Amorim, we haven't seen her out of the first round, so it really is tricky to say, well, if it goes to a second, Amorim, I know her striking is going to carry her to a win, because I just don't know that. And for Sam Hughes, she's a tough out, especially in the first round, though. But when you look at it, Amorim open to minus 400 favorite, minus 255 right now. Sam Hughes open plus 330, plus 200 as it stands. We have a look at the Topology votes, Matt. Surprised us there to you. I'm going to say over under 92.5% Amorim.
I think they'll be under, but she'll be the favorite.
They are wild. 1,568 total votes, 87% Amorim, 64% by submission. For the 13% that have Sam Hughes, 62% by decision. Amorim's never been out of a first round. Does she beat Sam Hughes?
This is what I don't like about Sam Hughes. And just because I'm saying it doesn't mean I'm right. But she's been in the UFC for a while now, and her level of competition has always been about what it's at right now. Fighting people who are making their debuts, and if they beat her, that's good.
She fought Tisha Torres on short notice.
On short, okay, but that was her taking the fight on short notice, so that's a little bit different. All of her other fights, other than that, have bbeen a lot of entry-level fighters, and she has looked good in some of those, but she hasn't looked great in some other ones. So I think for Hughes, she could go out there and win a 30-27 decision. I do think her cardio can carry her to that length, but I think it's really, really dangerous on the mat. So for where the odds are, I am going to pick Sam Hughes. I do think her wrestling is enough of an X factor, because again, her pace is going to be difficult to match for a lot of fighters, and until I do see it with Amorim, it is going to be hard to be completely sold on her. So this is one of those fights where I'm willing to be wrong right now, but open to being right in the future about Amorim. I think she does have a decent ceiling if she is able to start mixing her martial arts a little bit better, showing us a little bit more of her skill set. But up until then, I'm going to pick Sam Hughes.
Sam Hughes trains with the best camp to get ready for somebody like Jaqueline Amorim. She's definitely set herself up well at Fortis MMA. You look at the level of training partner, Emily Ducati and Jinyu Fry are the main training partners for Sam Hughes. For Jaqueline Amorim, and I'll throw the picture up there right now, she trains an American Top Team with the Yankees' biggest fan is Tella Nunes, who's been in her corner before with the Yankees cap, and Jussier Formiga, whose hairline now looks better than it ever has.
Did he do the Brian Urlacher after he retired?
It's better than it ever has been. So for Jaqueline Amorim, a really good job there. For Sam Hughes, her takedown defense is porous, but She's been able to pop back up to her feet and get back over to the fence very quickly. But for me, when I do look at this fight, Jaqueline Amorim has that one hit, one kill jiu-jitsu. And Matt, split decisions have killed me to start this year. I'm going with the proven finisher in Jaqueline Amorim to get the win. We're split on this pick. Matt going with Sampage. I'm going with Amorim. You let us know down below in the comments section who you have in the strawweight matchup to kick off the card. Big time card coming up with Adesanya and Pereira in the main event. The fourplex of fights. You're not going to want to miss it. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.